All right, we're here. So this is usually the time of the month where I would be worn down and dilapidated, very cynical of the upcoming landscape of films we would have approaching us as January continues to wear down my everlasting optimism. But you know what? This is a different year. 2023 is truly the start of something special because, as I said with Madrigan last week, it was a wonderful film that I had a lot of fun with, perfectly competent, self-aware of what it was, and provided me a good time. And that's really all I can ask of a January movie. And guess what? For the second week in a row, we have that with Plane, starring Gerard Butler. And guess what? This is the ever so common, hey, big strong guy, hero man saves people thing, starring Gerard Butler usually. And honestly, in the past, I have not really been a fan of these types of films. The Has Fallen franchise, I think, is super one note and monotonous and boring. And sure, Gerard Butler is charismatic and a good protagonist, but when that's all your movie has to work off of, you don't really get as far as to get my seal of approval. That being said, there's something different about this film, at least to me, and that is that it is directed by Jean-Francois Richet, I believe is how you say it, or Riquet, I'm assuming Richet, because he actually directed a film from 2016 that I was really a fan of called Bloodfather, starring Mel Gibson. Not many people talk about it, but I think it is pretty solid for an action movie. Kind of like grimy, kind of gritty, and very well shot and all of those things. And although I do not think Plane is as good as Bloodfather, I do see some aspects from Bloodfather in Plane, and those being the other Has Fallen type of films. Although I will say, I did like the most recent Gerard Butler is Big Strong Man and Saves World film, Greenland. I thought that was pretty cool, but going past that, I liked Plane even more than that. And Plane is actually a relatively violent film. They do show killings, not super in depth, but they do show them, and people die in kind of brutal ways. And that's something that I think is really missing from the Has Fallen franchise. In these other movies that don't go as balls to the wall as that extreme of a situation warrants. But I think Jean-Francois Richet brings that to Plane, and it kind of adds to the believability of the film. People get shot, people get their shit, people get their body parts sliced. It's pretty, not gory, but it is relatively graphic. And I enjoyed that about the film. Also, hey, you know what else is good? Surrounding your cast, your main protagonist, by a really good cast. People such as Mike Coulter, people such as Yoson An, and I think actually Daniela Pineda is also pretty solid in this. All of those people are there, and they're pretty good, and that's enjoyable. It's not just one person carrying the entire film on their back. Mike Coulter specifically, I think, even outacts Gerard Butler in this. And although these characters aren't given that much of a plot line, just pretty basic stuff, that's acceptable when the characters are so good at acting out that basic stuff. I'm willing to let go of some of the lack of character development or arc or character just in general when I see such good and adequate performances for what they're trying to be. They're not trying too hard to make the film into something that it's not, but they aren't just letting this be another boring Black January film. They are trying relatively, and that's really nice to see. I'd also like to give a shout out to Marco Beltrami, which is something that I never thought I'd do, because generally I'm not a super big fan of Beltrami's scores. They're fine, they're okay, but they never tickle my fancy specifically. But this one perfectly fit into what the film was trying to be. It fit into that kind of borderline goofy, but still able to maintain some level of seriousness, action that these films are famous for, and ride that line between somewhat camp and seriousness. And I can't do anything but praise the score for doing that. Surprisingly, would not have imagined in 1,000 years I would be giving a shout out to the guy who made the score for the Quiet Place films, Ford v Ferrari, Venom, Let There Be Carnage, and World War Z. But here we are. That being said, of course, I do have to say, bring this back down to earth. It is just a fine film overall, I guess. It is super self-aware, and it is doing the best of what it can do with what it's given. But even in that scenario, what it's given is not much. The plot lines are pretty basic. Everybody outside of those 4 actors that I listed are kind of just there, and they're serviceable, but they're not competent, if that makes sense. They're fine, but they're not there doing their job to the best of their abilities. You know? Yeah. And also, I do kind of not like the cinematography of this film. I get what they were going for with a lot of the shaky cam and the handheld stuff, but something about the vibe of this film and the intensity of it, it kind of felt like it was a cop-out to sometimes not show the intense stuff that's going on screen. And I think that the film's plot would have benefited from wider shots and shots that are able to encapsulate the entirety of the landscape of what they're going for, especially during the action scenes. And it's fine. Once again, it's cool, but it doesn't really manage to make it past the constraints. It doesn't break out of the constraints that it's given. It just does the best with those constraints that it can. Don't take that criticism as too harsh, because I did have a really good time with Plane. I was the only one in the theater, and I was able to do my inner monologue outwardly, and that was a lot of fun. Did that add to the experience and perhaps make it more enjoyable for me? Maybe, but I would like to give the film the merit that it deserves, and that is that it is fun, it is cool, it's nothing to write home about, but it is something to talk about on the car ride home. So yeah, I am ultimately, at the end of the day, I am going to give Plane a 5 out of 10. It's fun. I would definitely give the recommendation to go see this in theaters. I haven't even seen House Party yet because it's not playing anywhere near me for some reason, but I can almost guarantee you that this will be more enjoyable and better than the House Party remake about LeBron James's house. But don't worry, I'll still get the review out to you on that as soon as possible. So yeah, go see it. It's fun. January is proving to be a bountiful wealth of surprise. Plane is good. So that will be it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you're having a wonderful day. If you're interested in more content, you can go watch my Everything Everywhere All at Once video where I watch it for 24 hours on my new channel, Colin's Corner. That is going to become the main channel. This is going to become the second channel because I'm going to be putting a lot of videos out over there that are much higher effort quality content. But yeah, I won't forget about this. This will be my favorite channel to make because I love reviewing movies. House Party video out within the next couple of days as soon as I go see it. Thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and I will talk to you in the next one. Goodbye.